going to get on to the meat and potatoes of Kelly
Books.
Brewer.
All right.
We're going to start with, and like I said, for you who are new out there or who haven't had the chance to read Kelly's books, that if you haven't even picked them up, and we're still got one coming, two
Yep.
coming, two
Yep.
coming. But we're going to start with First Contact. And I've read a little bit of this at the beginning, and it was way too deep for me. And if you know Kelly can go deep. Very, very, very deep.
That's why the series is called The Deepening.
The Deepening, exactly. And so, what I want to know from Kelly is what, in a nutshell, is this book about to bring you to the next book, Water Witch, the next book, Can a Rockstar Save the Universe, An Island Dude, and then the next one, which he'll put on screen,
Gene Shame.
Gene Shame. Because this is a far, to me, far reaching from music to books. Because in music, you're in front of people. You're there. You're like interacting. A book, somebody has to actually pick it up and go, I like this, and I'm going to read it. And I know on Amazon you can order all these books, read them, leave a review. That the new book that's coming out.
Right.
But for me personally, or anyone else who hasn't read them, just a little baby synopsis of what birthed this.
So I've always wanted to write. When you write music, you're writing, you're being creative too. So I felt like I'd taken it as far as I cared to take it. And when Jeffrey died, the steam just kind of went out of it,
Yeah.
And I said, now we got to find a new bass player now. Got to teach, you got to start all over.
Yep.
Right. So I said, it's ready. It's time to do something different. And so I said, I'm finally going to sit down and I'm going to write the book that I've been trying to write my whole life. And when I sat down to do it, it just dumped out 90,000 words, just poured out of my brain. Right. And once, like I say, once the seal is broken, boom, here comes Water Witch. Now, Water Witch is, I've made my living selling water. Right.
That is very interesting because I knew that subconsciously, but I didn't relate it to you until after that came out.
Right.
But so going back a little bit, would you see First Contact as an introduction of the characters?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I read enough to know that
that's right. It's the beginning.
Very different characters in
It's the beginning. And the reason I call it First Contact is my first contact with readers. In the book, the main characters get married and they have their first contact after they get married. So there's a chapter in there. I tried to just make one sentence, and try to skip over sort of the honeymoon. Mm-hmm. But the lady editor, when I sent it to her, she goes, you've been building up to this the whole book, and you're going to give me one sentence.
Let it out.
She said, I have to see some more, right? So I wrote like maybe a paragraph, 2 paragraphs.
Is that the part where you talked about the lady's mountain? Like mountain, but like her, I don't know what you called it. It was like her.
Probably.
Yeah. I remember that. I was like, damn.
So then I sent it.
Very interesting way
to the publisher. Another lady publisher. She read the 2 paragraphs. She said, there's just not enough. Mm-hmm. She said,
get them.
She said, I need more. Mm-hmm. So the 2 lady editor and the publisher both said, you're going to have to beef this up. Right. Mm-hmm. So then I wrote an entire chapter on it. So the point is First Contact. Okay. And then that also the First Contact with the official First Contact with the aliens in the book. Right. Oh. So they're there. They've been there the whole time, but they've been invisible. And then at the end of the book, the Water Witch, the guy who's called the Water Witch, he somehow reveals them, and then he begins the war that finally leads us to Can a Rockstar Save Their Universe? Right?
What? That's a great title.
Can a Rockstar Save the Universe? Yeah. It is a good title.
Yeah.
Well, so and
they all are.
The way I came up with that is everybody said, "Well, what's it about?" And so I was trying to summarize it in a single sentence. And I just finally, I said, well, it's, can a rock star save the universe? And I said, well, that's obviously the title of the third one. So anyway, the initial trilogy, that's where it starts. Then Island Dude happens at the same time. He's not related to the rock star, but some of the events sort of intersect, right? Island Dude.
Island Dude, I just ordered it. I haven't
Did you?
read it yet, though. Yeah.
So the island just shows up one day, and now he's got all these problems due to the fact that this island just follows him around. Nobody wants him around. They're scared of it.
Is this the island?
That's the island.
This is the island.
Floating island, right?
A floating island.
It's a floating, and then, but basically, it's that's his burden. We all have a burden, and so how he deals with his burden is the crux of the book. The thing that gave me the idea, though, reading about a guy who said that he jumped off a bridge. He was committing suicide. Okay, he jumps off a bridge. Couldn't, he's so confused, couldn't figure it out. But he said on his way down, he figured out the solution to his problem. And he survived and then was able to go on. And when I read that, I immediately began to write that right there. So in the end, he winds up on the island. Okay, he's trying to get on there the whole time. And once he gets on there, he realizes he doesn't want to be there.
Be here.
And so he jumps off and he solves his problems,
because
after
he lands
jumps.
somewhere else.
It's
or vice versa.
He gets saved, but
now, can I ask you, are these 4 books connected in the characters, or are you just carrying over a different storyline into each book?
The first 3 are one story.
Okay.
The second one happens at the same time period as the first 3, but it's completely separate.
Okay.
And the same thing, this one, the Gene Shame, this is the one that's coming out on the 10th, a couple of days. This is the son of the rock star who saved the universe. Okay, so this one is 20 years later.
Oh, on this one?
This one is 20 years later from that.
Okay. That one looks very interesting. Do you think it's, what is it, foreshadowing?
Yeah.
For you? Any projection in the books to foreshadowing of yourself?
Yes. Yeah. Well, so all of these contain me. I have to do me. Draw from my experience, obviously.
So your characters in each one of these books.
Yeah, the rock star in the initial 3 is me idealized when I was younger.
Okay.
But in the future.
Okay. that makes sense.
Yeah. I had him succeed and go through his journey in the way that I would have liked to have gone through my journey.
Interesting.
Right? Cleaner. It's rock and roll is so dirty. You see behind the music and all of these bands, right?
Yeah.
Well,
you thought they were like, oh,
yeah, yeah, gods.
Little did they know they were like struggling so hard.
Alcoholics, drug addicts,
everything. I mean, when you have everything at your hands, and is that good for a person like you or me?
Well, it's not for a young person. No. Young people don't know how to handle it.
I don't think anybody really can handle it.
Maybe so.
No, especially if you get it later in life, then you just,
I could probably handle it now a little better.
You think so?
But back then, I just felt dirty. The whole rock and roll thing felt dirty to me.
Really?
Yeah. And
overall, or just locally, or just
overall.
If you went any further in your career,
it was the same everywhere I went. When we traveled in the 80s, we went all over the country, and it was the same everywhere I went. It's not who I was. So plus you're playing at night and you're sleeping during the day. And what I realized is I'm a child of the day. I am not a child of the night. I'm not a vampire. I'm much more productive if I work during the day,
sleep at night.
So it just didn't fit anymore. I kind of got it out of my system.
So we have to say that Jeffrey, in his unfortunate timely death, bless his heart.
Poor baby.
He was just, I remember piggybacking him places. He was so drunk he couldn't get to the bathroom. But if it weren't for our Jeffrey, your journey may have been stalled or never happened or whatever. But I have to say, I commend you on your commitment.
Yeah.
It's a big commitment.
It is. So like I say, this one's done. I got another one pretty much done, number 7, and 8 and 9 are almost finished. So, but you just made me think of something, talking about Jeffrey there at the end, but Jeffrey was there at the beginning as well. When I met Jeffrey in high school, I met him at the music store in town. And I was just starting, just got the guitar.
Wow.
Well, I walked in there. I think I was taking some lessons. and he was there. I remember seeing him at school, and I said, "Hey, what's going on?" And he'd been playing for a while, and I said, "Man, show me some. Show me how to, you know." And he showed me the thing that's in basically 99% of every song, and it's the thing that goes. Just that little riff is in so many songs.
Really?
So many. I mean, some version of it,
Yeah.
right? And here I'm still
So he
playing
taught
it.
you that
Yeah, so I'm still
to
playing.
this day.
Yeah, 40 years later,
Yeah.
right? When he showed me that, I mean, all of a sudden I could play any song almost because there's so much of that in every song.
So you're an ear. You're not you.
Yeah, I can't read.
You can't read it. It's mostly
all
ear.
ear.
And I commend any artist because that is whether it be drawing, music, writing, art is such a important aspect of our lives because it's our history.
Right.
It
right.
really is our history.
It is. It's a way to record history. And I'm glad I played music.
Mhm.
I'm glad I learned it. But you got to stay balanced.
Mhm.
And if you go too far, you're going to get in trouble. You're going to get hurt. You know,
Mhm.
play with fire, you're going to get burned.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of tentacles to it.
There is.
And you see on Facebook a lot of, I don't know, just stories and stuff about gigs and this and that and the other. And it just seems like it's so exhausting.
It is. It is.
So exhausting. I just don't know how people
Well,
do it.
the work that it takes to get there and just play a little dinky show,
Mm-hmm.
a little 3-hour show, the effort that it takes to learn the songs, practice. You got to have your PA. Your gear's got to be right. You got to show up. You got to set up.
Mm-hmm.
So before everybody gets there, you're 2 hours early. Then you're working your butt off, and then everybody leaves, and now you got to break it all down, load
And
it
we're
in.
at home in bed.
Everybody's in bed, 3, 4 in the morning. You finally get home. You're wired. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I can't sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So about sunup, I'm finally going down. So
You had everything backwards.
yeah. So
your
the
life.
day you just played, you spent all day getting ready to go play. The next day, you're sleeping it off, and then there's still residual. So you play a show. You're 3 days total commitment. You know, not to mention the practice,
Right.
the money that it takes to keep. You know, so and then you make $100. You know,
Well, on the flip side, I was watching something. I don't know if it was on Facebook or TV or the news, maybe. Tom Petty, he's passed away and he was probably had a considerable amount of money, but they just had a garage sale at his house.
a garage sale.
A garage sale. And this one lady brought out a colander that she bought. That's the only thing she probably could afford. But I'm thinking, you could reach that pinnacle of fame with all the load you're carrying behind it of the drugs, if it's exposed and all that. You die, and then all your stuff goes in a pile of garage sale stuff.
Garage sale stuff.
So why not instead do something like this?
Do something like that.
Legacy, what you're all about, and how you felt your life was, is, or will be. And so, has anyone ever asked you what would be your advice to your 18-year-old self? Have you been asked that?
No.
Okay. Kelly, if you could tell yourself something from when you were 18, what would you do? What would you say?
I would say start writing much earlier.
Writing?
Writing.
For you.
For me. If I would have done that when I first had the idea back in high school and just went ahead and did it and started it, well, I'd have been a lot further down the road, obviously. But
timing's everything.
Yeah, I think I would have been very successful. I really do. Just because I had a lot of people, I wrote like short stories and different things in class, and I would turn them in, and the teacher would say, "Kelly, before you leave, class is over." She said, "Come here a minute." And I remember Miss Spears, she said it one time. She said, "This is so good. You wrote this thing, and you should really think about pursuing."
Yeah, you're a kid. You know everything.
And actually in 7th grade, the same thing. The teacher asked us. He came in and said, "Okay, I want y'all to write a story." Man, it was like as soon as he said it, the whole thing was in my head, and I sat there. I wrote the story. The next day, he goes, "Everybody appreciates your effort, but one of them really stood out, and I'm going to read you the story." So he read my story to the class, and I was so embarrassed. I was like, "Oh, dude, you're exposing me." Oh my gosh.
God,
You
Kelly
know?
Brewer. What?
So, I had the ability, I had the time.
Did you keep any of your writings?
I've been looking for it. I know
Good.
I
Good.
kept that one first story. I just can't find it. It's somewhere.
I have my first story.
Do
I
you
wrote.
really?
Yeah. It was How I Met Chip, and I turned it in, and I got a really good score on it.
Well, so you're a writer.
Yeah, I like to write poetry or lyrics and stuff
Well, I
like
didn't
that.
know this about you, Miss Dana.
Yes, yes. And yeah, so wow, this has been awesome.
Yep.
I am so privileged and honored.
Oh my gosh, you're so crazy.
To be here. I never thought in a million years that K Brew would give it up.
Well, look, I'm giving it up. So I'm going to give you some merch,
You're
right?
gonna give me some merch.
We got a deep. So this is your stress ball.
Oh, I need one
You
of
need a
these for
stress
this
ball,
hand.
right?
Okay.
I don't know if you need a deepening bracelet, but there's your deepening bracelet. This is a multi-tool.
Oh, just what I need.
Yeah, you need another multi-tool. It's got a knife, right?
Okay.
Bottle opener. It's got a little flashlight right there.
Flashlight knife.
And then it's got the no negativity logo on it, and also it's got a little thing you can hang it on
your
your
guitar.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, how cool!
There it is.
Looky there.
Right. Oh look. So shine it at that other.
This
one in the middle. Yeah, that's got
over
us,
here.
Got us both. See it. And now we're gonna sing a song. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine.
Oh my gosh, this little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Woohoo!
Yes.
Another exciting interview with the Kelly Brewer.